Good day, Olivarians! This is 21st Century Literature from the Philippines and the world. My name is Miss Vanessa Vallota, your facilitator for Module number 6. Before we have our topic for this video, I have a question for you. Do you still remember what we discussed about the previous module? Yes, that's correct. Good job. Were you able to grasp the lesson in the love story Pyramus and Thisbe? I guess you surely did. Now, let's proceed to the next module. Here, we will tackle about the history and characteristics of North American literature. Also, we will have the literary genre and its elements, speech. And lastly, we will have the speech of Martin Luther King Jr., I Have a Dream. Following are our learning goals. Number 1. Identify the different timelines in North American literature together with its characteristics. Number 2. Value the literary genre speech. And lastly, make a persuasive speech related to the theme given. Are you now ready? Well, let's start. Let's begin with the history of North American literature. During its early history, America was a series of British colonies on the eastern part of the present-day United States. As a result of this, its literary tradition begins as linked to the wider tradition of English literature. Since they were under different leadership for a long time, their way of living as well as their way of writing was greatly influenced. Nevertheless, distinct American characteristics and the breadth and depth of its production usually now caused it to be known as a separate path and tradition. Let us all take a close look on the timelines in North American literature, as well as some of the notable writers and their works. Let's begin with number 1. Early American and Colonial Period. The literature of the Americans in this period was orally transmitted. Specifically speaking, they have legends, myths, tales, and songs of Indian cultures. Notable writers in this period were Captain John Smith and William Bradford. Next, we have democratic origins and revolutionary writers. The hard-fought American Revolution against Britain happened in this period. As a result of this, even literature adjusted. The written works were just a mere replication of the English literary models. The pursuit for a native literature became a national passion. One of the authors who still continued despite the ongoing war was Washington Irving. Next, we have the American Enlightenment. In this period, Enlightenment thinkers and writers focused more on logic and reasoning, and they made it as a major theme evident in their writings. Benjamin Franklin, also known as the first great man of letters, was one of the writers who emerged in this time. He is well known for his autobiography, Franklin's Poor Richard Almanac. Number 4, we have the American Renaissance. It is also known as the Romantic period in America and the Age of Transcendentalism. This period goes beyond the barriers the previous period drew. Here, writers such as Walt Whitman, who is considered as one of America's greatest 19th century poets, flourished. From being enlightened about logic and reasoning to new freedoms and possibilities, here is another period that depicted the realistic descriptions of American life. There is also an alteration in the style of writing. Mark Twain or Samuel Clemens as his real name, wrote the novel Adventures of Tom Sawyer and Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. The Naturalist period. This short period was somehow related to the previous one, but much more clearly. Naturalists used realism to relate the individual to his society. Literary producers here are Frank Norris, Theodore Dreiser, and Jack London, who wrote the raw novels in American literary history, to tell a few. Regarded as the second most powerful and beautifully rich age of American writing, next to the American Renaissance. T.S. Eliot, who won the Nobel Prize in Literature, was a major writer in this time, together with E.E. Cummings, Robert Frost, and Carl Sandburg. Now we have the second to the last era, the Beat generation. Confessional poetry and sexuality in literature rose in this period, which resulted in legal challenges and debates over censorship and privacy in America. William Burroughs and Henry Miller are two writers whose works faced censorship challenges. And lastly, we have the contemporary period and up to the present. North America's literature progressed profoundly. Now they have a varied literary works influenced by the past one way or another. Some of the established names here, we have Sylvia Plath, Alice Walker, Edward Albee, Philip Roth, and Maya Angelou. Characteristics of North American literature. In a nutshell, we can briefly state the characteristics of American literature as follows. Individualism. American writings pay respect and value to the importance of an individual as a part of the society. Multifaceted. Since European countries invaded them for quite some time, the contribution of the latter was evident to the former. Proportional. Some wrote about adventures but used realistic approach. Some talked humorously but incorporated society as a topic. Well done! Now, we're finished discussing the first part of this module. At this juncture, let us now go to our literary genre, speech. But what is a speech? Anyone? Yes, a speech is a form of communication address or discourse, that which is delivered to an audience. Three kinds of speech according to purpose are as follows. It's either to inform, to persuade, and to entertain. Just like other literary genre previously discussed, speech also has its elements. Let's start with the first one, the grabber. A grabber is used to open your remarks, connect with your audience, and capture their attention. You can use any of these techniques for your effective speech delivery. We have here stories, commentary, literary references, relevant personal experiences, quotations, and so on and so forth. Number 2, we have the subject. A subject is considered as the main gist or idea of your speech. Your listeners need to know where you should take them. Next is the message. It is related to the subject, but this is more specific. It is somehow a single sentence that summarizes your whole speech. The theme. The theme can be any of the following. It's either an image, a metaphor, or a powerful word that will leave a mark to your listeners. Number 5, structure. Just like any literary genre, structure plays a big part in delivering your speech. Here are some ways on how you can do it. Chronological comparison, steps, ways or reasons, challenge and response. And last but not the least, we have the call to action. A speech should have a call to action. End your viewers and listeners with a remark that will ignite something in them. Thinking of all these elements as you construct your speech will not just be a big help to you as you go through the activity in this module, but also as you converse with someone. That would be the first part of our module number 6. You did well, students. Thank you for listening. See you on the next part.
Happy learning at home with lessons made easy by Olivarian GoTeach. One proud Olivarian.